The farmer bought a forgotten piece of land with a ruined house, doubted by everyone who said there was nothing left to save. Until the day a horse appeared alone at the gate, exhausted and silent. When the man stepped closer and noticed a detail no one had seen before, his hands began to tremble, and everyone around fell into complete silence, unable to believe what they were about to discover. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The sun was a white hole in the sky, and the dirt was the color of dust. It was the same as yesterday. It would be the same tomorrow. Hank Miller wiped his forehead with the back of his arm. He wasn't sweating much. The dry air stole the moisture before it could even form. He looked at the field, a flat stretch of nothing that went on forever. "Just dirt," he said to the silence. His voice sounded like rocks rubbing together. Just dead, empty dirt. He walked back to the house. It wasn't much. Paint peeled from the wood like old skin. One step on the porch sagged with a tired groan. The screen door had a hole in it big enough for a cat to walk through. Inside was one room for living, one for sleeping. He filled a glass with water from the sink. He sat at the small table. He ate beans from a can, cold. The sound of his fork on the plate was too loud. He washed the single plate, the single fork. He dried them and put them away. His eyes went to the small photograph on the shelf. A woman with a kind smile, her hand on the neck of a bay horse. His mother. The horse was named Daisy's Courage. He was 12 when his mother got sick. He was 12 when she died. The farm was sold. The horse was sold. Everything good was packed up and taken away. Hank looked away from the picture. The ache in his chest was a familiar thing, an old hollow space. He went outside to sit on the porch step. The evening was coming, but it didn't bring cool air, just a different kind of hot. He watched the road that led into town. No cars came. A voice broke the quiet. "Hey there, Hank. Burning daylight, or what's left of it." It was Billy Carter, bouncing out of a dusty truck. He owned the feed store in Lone Pine. He was always moving, always talking. Hank just nodded. Billy came up to the fence, his smile wide. "Saw you staring at your crop. Must be growing invisible corn, huh?" "Nothing's growing, Billy," Hank said, looking at his hands. Right. Just a joke." Billy leaned on the fence. "Listen, I was thinking, you know what this land might be good for? Solar panels, or maybe a special kind of cactus farm. I read about it. You could be the Cactus King of Kansas." Hank shook his head slowly. "It's just dirt. I made a mistake buying it." Billy's smile faded a little. Don't say that. It just needs a little love, and maybe 1,000,000 gallons of water." He chuckled, but Hank didn't. "I gotta get back," Billy said after a quiet moment. "You need anything from town?" "No," Hank said. "Thank you." He watched Billy drive off. The dust from the truck hung in the air for a long time. Hank was alone again with the sound of the wind. He thought about the people in Lone Pine. They were not unkind, but they thought he was a fool, a lonely man from Ohio who bought the worst piece of land in the county. He heard their soft laughs at the post office. He saw their head shakes at the gas station. Old Martha Higgins from the Historical Society was the most direct. She saw him looking at a map in the town hall last week. "That parcel you bought, Mr. Miller," she had said, her voice sharp. "Nothing has grown there in 50 years. The records are clear. It's a waste of good effort." Hank had just nodded then, too. What could he say? She was right. Now, sitting on his broken step, he knew she was right. He had spent all his saved money on this dead ground in this falling down house. He wanted a place to belong, a place that felt like the home he lost when he was 12. But this place just felt empty. He stood up and walked to the edge of his field. He knelt down and picked up a handful of soil. It was fine and powdery, like ash. It slipped through his fingers. No life in it at all. He felt like that dirt, dry, used up, blown by the wind from one place to another, never sticking, never growing anything. The last light of day was fading. A single bird flew across the orange sky, heading somewhere better. Hank went back inside the dark house. He did not turn on many lights. He lay in his bed and listened to the old house settle. Every creak was a lonely sound. He thought about his mother's voice. He thought about the sound of Daisy's Courage eating an apple from his hand. Happy sounds from a life that was gone. "What was I thinking?" he whispered to the dark ceiling. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow would be the same. The white sun, the yellow dirt, the heavy quiet. He had nowhere else to go. This was his mistake. He would live inside it, alone. Another day of white sun and yellow dirt was done. Hank washed his hands at the outdoor pump, the water warm from the pipe. He was about to go inside when a movement caught his eye. At the far fence line, near the old cedar tree, something stood. It was a shape, a large, still shape. Hank squinted. He walked closer, his boots soft on the dust. It was a horse, a bay horse, its coat dull and matted. Every rib showed under its skin. Its head hung low, tired. It stood at the fence, not moving, just watching him. Hank's breath caught. His heart hurt, a sharp physical pain in his chest. He had not seen an animal look so broken in a long time. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey there." He walked slowly, his hands open at his sides. The horse did not run. It only blinked its big dark eyes. A tired sigh came from its nose. Up close it was worse. Burrs were tangled in its tail. Its hooves were long and cracked. It wore an old, dirty halter. On the side of the halter was a piece of metal, covered in grime. "You're a long way from home, aren't you?" Hank whispered. He reached out a hand, letting the horse smell his fingers. Its muzzle was soft and warm. The horse leaned into his touch, just a little. Hank's throat felt tight. He looked at the metal plate on the halter. He could not read it. He rubbed the dirt with his thumb. He rubbed harder. A letter appeared, then another. He wiped the whole plate clean on the sleeve of his shirt. He bent close to read it. The words were engraved in the metal. 2 words, Daisy's courage. The world stopped. The wind vanished. There was no sound. Hank's whole body began to shake. He could not get air into his lungs. He read the name again and again. "No," he breathed. "It can't be." He looked at the horse's face. Now he saw it. The white stripe down the nose, the one white sock on the left front leg. He had not seen those markings since he was a boy. He had drawn pictures of them in school. This was his mother's horse, the horse he fed sugar cubes to. The horse he cried into when they told him his mother was gone. The horse that was sold away to a stranger with everything else. "Daisy?" His voice cracked. "Daisy girl?" The horse's ears twitched forward at the sound of the name. She nudged his chest gently with her nose. A sound broke from Hank's throat. It was part sob, part laugh. Tears ran down his dusty face. He did not try to stop them. He put his arms around the horse's thin neck and buried his face in her mane. He cried for the first time in more than 30 years. He did not know how long they stood there. Finally, he pulled back, wiping his face. He had to move. She needed help. "Okay," he said, his voice wet and rough. "Okay, Daisy, let's get you fixed up." He opened the gate. Daisy walked through on her own, her steps slow and careful. Hank led her to the old barn. It was empty, but it had a roof and 3 solid walls. He found an old bucket, filled it with clean water from the pump, and brought it to her. Daisy drank. She drank for a long, long time. "You're thirsty," Hank said. "You're so thirsty." He had no hay. He had no grain. He ran to the house. He came back with 2 apples from his own small lunch and a handful of plain oatmeal from a can. He held it out on his flat palm. Daisy ate it all, her lips brushing his skin. He found a relatively clean rag and wiped the dust from her coat. He picked the burrs from her tail one by one. He talked to her the whole time. "I remember her singing when she brushed you," he whispered, working on a knot. "She had a song for you. Do you remember that?" Daisy stood quietly, her eyes half closed. When he was done, it was full dark. Hank sat on an overturned bucket in the barn, just watching her. Daisy lowered her head and dozed. The sound of her breathing, the rustle of her foot in the straw. They were the only sounds, and they filled the empty space completely. Hank did not feel empty anymore. The hollow ache in his chest was still there, but it was now filled with a wild, fragile hope. It was like a piece of his heart, lost for decades, had walked out of the past and up to his fence. He heard a truck rumble down the road, its headlights cutting the dark. It was Billy, probably heading home. For a second, Hank thought about waving him down, telling him, but he didn't. This was his. This miracle was his alone for now. He sat there until his legs got stiff. "I'll be right here in the morning," he said to Daisy. He touched her neck once more, then walked to the house. He did not eat beans from a can. He made himself eggs. He sat at the table and looked out the window toward the barn. He could not see her, but he knew she was there. He was not alone. For 3 days, Hank lived in a different world. The sun was still hot. The dirt was still dry. But none of that mattered. Every morning he woke before the light and went to the barn. Daisy was always waiting, her ears flicking toward him. He gave her water. He had driven to Billy's store and bought real feed and hay, spending money he could not spare. "Whoa, Nellie, Hank," Billy had said, grinning as he loaded the bags. "You got yourself a visitor, huh? She must be something special to get you to open your wallet." "She is," was all Hank said, but he almost smiled. Now he brushed Daisy's coat every day. He talked to her. He told her about his mother, about the old farm in Ohio, about the sound of rain on a tin roof. Daisy listened, her head lowered as if she remembered. Hank was fixing a hinge on the barn door when he saw the car. It was a clean black car, not from around here. It kicked up a perfect line of dust as it came down his road. It stopped right by his gate. A man got out. He wore a suit, light gray and without a wrinkle. His shoes were shiny. He looked at Hank's farm, at the dry field, at the old house. His mouth was a straight line. Hank's good feeling vanished. A coldness settled in his stomach. He put his hammer down slowly. The man opened the gate and walked toward him. He held a brown leather folder. "Mr. Henry Miller?" the man asked. His voice was smooth. "Yes," Hank said. "My name is Theodore Claiborne. I am an attorney from Wichita." He did not offer his hand. Hank just waited. He felt Daisy move behind him in the barn, a comforting presence. "I represent a client, Mr. Arthur Vance of Wichita," Mr. Claiborne said. He opened the folder. He took out a piece of paper. "Mr. Vance is the legal owner of a bay mare, 16 hands, with a white facial stripe and one white sock. The horse is currently branded on the left hip with the letters AV. The horse's registered name is Daisy's Courage." Each word was a small, sharp stone dropped into Hank's gut. "That's my mother's horse," Hank said, his voice low. "The records show Mr. Vance purchased the horse at a legitimate auction in Oklahoma 3 months ago," Mr. Claiborne continued as if Hank had not spoken. "The horse escaped from its pasture last week. We have been tracking its movements. It led us here." He held out the paper. "This is a court order. It identifies the animal as Mr. Vance's property. You are required to surrender the animal to me immediately." Hank did not take the paper. "No." Mr. Claiborne blinked. "I'm sorry?" "I said no. That horse isn't just property. She came home. You don't understand." "I understand the law, Mr. Miller." Mr. Claiborne's voice stayed calm, cool. "This is not a matter of sentiment. It is a matter of legal ownership. My client has the bill of sale. You do not. If you do not comply, we will have to file a replevin action. That means we will sue you in court to recover the property. You will also be liable for my client's legal fees and any damages." The words swirled around Hank. Asterisk sue. Court. Fees. He had no money for a lawyer. He had no papers. "She has my mother's name on her halter," Hank said, but it sounded weak, even to him. "A halter is not a title," Mr. Claiborne said. He put the paper on the top of a fence post. "This is your copy. The hearing is set for 2 weeks from Friday at the county courthouse in Wichita. If the horse is not willingly delivered to my client before that date, we will see you there." Hank looked at the paper. It was full of small, dense print. It looked final. "Of course," Hank whispered, more to himself than to the lawyer. "This is how it goes." Mr. Claiborne adjusted his suit jacket. "It doesn't have to be difficult, Mr. Miller. Just bring the horse to the address on the paper. Save yourself the trouble." He turned and walked back to his clean car. He drove away. The dust settled slowly. Hank stood frozen. The sun beat down. He heard Daisy nicker softly from the barn. The sound, which had been a comfort moments before, now felt like a knife twisting. He had found her, only to be told she was never his to keep. He heard another truck, Billy's truck. It pulled up, and Billy jumped out, his usual smile on his face. It faded when he saw Hank's expression. "Hey, Hank, you look like you've seen a ghost." "What's wrong?" Billy asked, walking closer. He saw the official paper on the fence post. "What's that?" Hank picked up the paper. His hands were not steady. "A man was here, a lawyer. He says Daisy belongs to a rich man in Wichita. He says I have to give her back." "What?" Billy's mouth fell open. "But that's crazy." She came to asterisk you asterisk. He has papers, Billy. A bill of sale. I have nothing. Hank stared at the words on the page, but they didn't make sense anymore. He says I have to go to court. I can't go to court. I don't have money for that. Billy was quiet for a moment. He looked at the barn, then at Hank's defeated face. Well, he said, clapping a hand on Hank's shoulder. That just stinks. But you can't just give up. She's your mom's horse. That's gotta mean something. Hank didn't answer. He felt the old, familiar feeling. The feeling that happiness was a thing that got sold away from you. He had held it for 3 days. Now it was being taken. The next morning, Hank was brushing Daisy when he heard the first car. He looked up. It was old Mr. Peterson from the dairy farm down the road. He pulled up in his pickup and got out, holding a paper bag. "Morning, Hank," Mr. Peterson said, his voice gruff. He held out the bag. "The wife made extra meatloaf. Thought you could use a solid meal." Hank stared at the bag. Thank you." "Heard about your trouble," Mr. Peterson said, looking at Daisy. "Pretty horse. Shame about that lawyer fella." He nodded once, got back in his truck, and left. Hank was still holding the warm bag when another car arrived. It was Susan from the diner. She had a whole apple pie. "Figured you could use some sweetness," she said with a smile. "Everyone's talking, Hank. We're real sorry." By midday, there were 5 dishes of food on Hank's porch. He felt confused. These were the same people who shook their heads at him at the gas station. Billy's truck came bouncing up just after noon. He wasn't alone. A few other people were with him, including a woman Hank didn't know. "Hank," Billy called, hopping out. "We're having a town meeting tonight at the church about your situation. You gotta be there." "A meeting?" Hank asked. "Why?" "To help you," Billy said, as if it were obvious. "We can't let that slick lawyer from Wichita just take your horse. It ain't right." The woman with Billy stepped forward. She was older with a sharp look. Hank recognized her. Martha Higgins from the Historical Society. "Mr. Miller," she said. Her voice was clear and direct. "Billy has informed the community of your predicament. While sentiment is running high, I felt it necessary to speak with you directly." "Okay," Hank said. "This lawyer, he has a bill of sale?" Martha asked. "Yes, ma'am." "And you have no bill of sale?" "No, ma'am. Just the name on the halter, and my memory." Martha nodded once, a quick, precise motion. "I see. Then this is a legal matter, not an emotional one. Hope does not plow a field, Mr. Miller. A court of law will look at paper, not at feelings." She said the last word carefully, as if it were a messy thing. "So I should just give her to him?" Hank asked, a spark of frustration in his tired voice. "I did not say that," Martha replied. "I am saying you must be realistic. The law is the law. The town getting worked up over a horse may feel good, but it does not change facts." She turned to leave, then paused. "The meeting is at 7 o'clock. I will be there." That evening, Hank put on his least dirty shirt. He felt strange walking into the little white church. It was full. He saw faces from the post office, the gas station, the diner. They all looked at him. He wanted to turn around and leave. Billy waved him to a seat in the front. The town's mayor, a retired shop teacher named Frank, stood up. "All right, folks, settle down," Frank said. "We're here about Hank Miller and his horse. As we understand it, a lawyer from Wichita says he has to give the horse back. Hank says the horse was his mother's a long time ago. What should we as a community do about it?" A farmer stood up. "That horse walked 30 miles to get to his fence, Frank. You can't tell me that's not a sign. The animal chose him. That's got to count for something." "It counts in our hearts, Joe," Martha Higgins said from her seat. She did not stand. Everyone went quiet to hear her. "But it holds no weight in a courtroom. We must be practical. We could be encouraging Mr. Miller to pursue a losing battle. That is not kindness." "So we do nothing?" Susan from the diner called out. "We let some rich man from the city take a horse that's finally home? That's not the Lone Pine I know." A murmur of agreement went through the room. "What if we help him fight?" Billy said, standing up. He was twisting a red pen in his hands. "Lawyers cost money. What if we all chip in? A little bit each, a legal fund." "That is a significant commitment," Martha said, "for a potentially futile cause." "But it's the *right* cause," Billy insisted, his voice louder than usual. It's about more than a horse. It's about not letting the big guy push the little guy around. It's about home. One by one, people started nodding. An old woman stood up. "I can give $20. A young man in the back said, "I can give 50. Mr. Peterson said, "Put me down for 100. Hank watched, his throat tight. He looked at his rough hands. He didn't know what to say. Frank, the mayor, raised his hands. All right. If we're doing this, we do it right. We'll set up a proper fund. Billy, you're in charge of the collection. We'll get Hank a good lawyer." He turned to Hank. "Hank, are you willing to fight this? With our help?" Every eye was on him. Hank thought about saying no. It was his instinct, to accept the loss, to not cause trouble. He thought of Daisy in the barn. He thought of his mother's smile. He took a deep, shaky breath. "Yes," he said. The word was quiet, but in the silent room it was clear. "I want to fight." A smile broke out on Billy's face. People started clapping. It wasn't a loud, crazy applause. It was a steady, warm sound of support. Martha Higgins did not clap. She watched Hank's face. She saw the fear in his eyes, but also a determined set to his jaw that hadn't been there before. She sniffed once, quietly, but said nothing more. After the meeting, people came up to Hank, patting his shoulder, telling him not to worry. Billy was already walking around with a cardboard box, the word "fund" written on it in green marker. Hank walked out into the cool night air. He felt shaky. He was not used to people being kind. He was not used to hoping. But for the first time since the lawyer's car drove away, the heavy feeling in his chest felt a little lighter. He was not alone in this. The money from the town fund paid for a lawyer. His name was Alan Price, from a bigger town an hour away. He came to Hank's farm to talk. He was a young man with a kind face, but his eyes were serious. "Mr. Miller, I need to be honest with you," Alan said, sitting at Hank's table. "This is a difficult case. Mr. Claiborne's client has a clear bill of sale. You have a story, a good story, but still just a story." "It's the truth," Hank said. "I believe you," Alan said. "But a judge needs proof. We will argue that the horse's return to you shows a unique bond, that it's a matter of emotional justice. But it's an uphill battle. The town's support helps. It shows community sentiment, but it's not proof of ownership." "What are my chances?" Hank asked. Alan was quiet for a moment. "Not good. Maybe 1 in 5, but we can try. The hearing is in 2 weeks." The 2 weeks passed in a blur of worry. Hank tried to work, but his mind was always on the court date. He fed Daisy and brushed her, but the joy was now mixed with a constant dread. The morning of the hearing, Billy drove Hank to the courthouse in Wichita. It was a big stone building that felt cold and loud. Mr. Claiborne was already there, looking neat and confident. He nodded once at Hank, a polite, empty gesture. The judge was an older woman with glasses. She did not smile. The hearing began. Mr. Claiborne spoke first. He was smooth and clear. He showed the judge the bill of sale from the auction in Oklahoma. He showed the brand on Daisy's hip, the letters AV for Arthur Vance. He showed a photo of the horse in Mr. Vance's pasture. "Your Honor, this is a simple matter of property law," Mr. Claiborne said. "My client's property wandered off. It was found. We are simply asking for its lawful return." Then it was Alan Price's turn. He stood up. He talked about Hank's mother. He talked about Hank's childhood. He talked about the incredible journey the horse must have made to find the one person connected to its past. He had Hank stand up. "Your Honor, Mr. Miller isn't just a man who found a horse. He is a man who was found by family. This animal is the last living connection to his mother, who he lost as a boy. Taking Daisy away isn't just moving property. It is re-inflicting a deep emotional wound." The judge listened. She looked at Hank. She looked at the papers. Finally, she spoke. "This is an unusual situation. Mr. Claiborne, your client's legal ownership appears established. Mr. Price, your appeal to equity is emotionally compelling. I need time to review the statute cited. Court is adjourned. I will issue my written decision within 7 days." A bang of her gavel. It was over. Just like that. No decision. No answer. Outside the courtroom, Mr. Claiborne approached. "A sensible delay," he said. "But the outcome will be the same, Mr. Miller. You should prepare to say your goodbyes. It will be easier on the animal." Hank said nothing. He felt numb. The drive home was quiet. Billy tried to talk about other things, but Hank just stared out the window. He had spent all his own savings on top of the town's money. He had nothing left, and he still had no horse. Back at the farm, Hank did his chores. He fed Daisy. He leaned his head against her neck. "I don't know what to do, girl," he whispered. "I fought. I really tried." Daisy nuzzled his pocket, looking for a treat. The simple, normal action made his eyes burn. Later that evening, Billy's truck pulled up again. He came onto the porch where Hank was sitting. "Brought you a burger from the diner," Billy said, handing over a greasy paper bag. "You didn't eat all day." "Thanks, Billy." Billy sat beside him. "It's not over, Hank. The judge didn't say no. She's thinking about it." "She's thinking about how to word the no," Hank said, his voice flat. "That lawyer was right. I need to get ready to let her go." "Don't talk like that," Billy said, but his usual cheer was forced. Across the road, in the dim light, Martha Higgins stood by her car. She had seen them return. She watched the two men on the porch, the slump of Hank's shoulders. She saw him look toward the barn where the horse was. She got into her car and drove away, her face thoughtful. She did not go home. She turned her car toward the town hall. She had a nagging feeling, a historian's itch. There was a story here older than a bill of sale, and if there was one thing Martha Higgins believed in, it was finding the true story. The town hall was dark and silent. Martha Higgins turned on the lights in the back room. It was a storage room, full of boxes and old filing cabinets. The air smelled of paper and dust. She had been unable to sleep. The image of Hank Miller on his porch, defeated, stayed in her mind. It was an emotional reaction, and that annoyed her. But it was there. Something about that horse and that quiet man gnawed at her sense of order. "It is a matter of records," she said aloud to the empty room. Her voice was firm. "If there is anything to find, it will be here." She went to the oldest cabinet. The label said, "Land Deeds Family Records, 1800s to 1950. She pulled open a heavy drawer. It groaned. Inside were folders and ledgers, all in neat rows. Martha's fingers, precise and careful, began to go through them. She was looking for anything related to the Miller name and that parcel of land. She knew the basic history. A family named Miller had owned it long ago. They left during the Dust Bowl years. The land was considered dead ever since. An hour passed. She found deeds of sale. She found tax records. Nothing useful. Just dry facts. She moved to a box marked Personal Effects Misc. It was a jumble, old pens, a broken compass, bundles of letters tied with string. She was about to close it when her hand touched something bound in leather. She pulled it out. It was a diary. The cover was cracked, the pages yellowed. The name on the front was written in faded ink. Asterisk Eleanor Miller, asterisk Miller, Hank's grandmother. Martha's pulse quickened. She carried the diary to the table under the light. She opened it carefully. The handwriting was elegant but firm. She began to read entries from the spring of 1934. It was a terrible drought. The wheat was failing. The wind blew dirt into the house. Then she found the entry. Asterisk June 3rd. Jacob is not despairing. He has a plan. He says the soil is not dead, only sleeping too deep. He has ordered a special grass seed, a type with roots that go down 10 feet or more. He will plant it. When it grows, he will plow the entire field under. He says this will put life back into the earth, deep down where the sun cannot burn it. Then he will spread the bad topsoil over it, like a blanket, to protect it. He says we must wait for the right rain, a big rain. It will wash the blanket away and wake the land. He has drawn a map of where the heart of the good soil lies. I pray he is right. Martha stopped breathing. She turned the page. There, tucked into the binding, was a piece of paper, a map, drawn in careful pencil. It showed the Miller property. There was an X marked near a cluster of 3 rocks that were drawn in the corner of a field. She looked at the next diary entry. Asterisk September 10th. The grass grew tall and green. Jacob plowed it all under today. The field looks bare again, but he smiles. He says the life is in the ground now, waiting. He capped it with the poor soil. Now we wait for the rain. The entries after that were sad. The big rain never came. Jacob Miller fell sick and died suddenly the next year. The family moved away. The secret of what he had done was buried with him and under a layer of worthless dirt. Martha sat back in her chair. Her mind was racing. This was not sentiment. This was fact. History, a recorded act of brilliance and hope hidden for decades. Good heavens, she whispered to the quiet room. The map. All these years. It was right here. That stubborn old fool. He was brilliant. She thought of Hank, working his dead field. She thought of the lawyer with his clean papers. This diary was older than any bill of sale. This was a truth about the land itself. She knew what she had to do. This was no longer just about a horse. This was about legacy, about a man's right to the truth of his own family's land. She carefully placed the diary and the map into a clean folder. She turned off the lights and locked the town hall. Her car was the only one on the street. Instead of going home, she drove toward Hank's farm. It was very late, but this could not wait. She saw a light on in his house. She pulled up to the gate and got out. She walked to the porch and knocked firmly. After a moment, the door opened. Hank stood there, still dressed. He looked tired and surprised. "Mrs. Higgins, is everything all right?" "No, Mr. Miller, it is not," Martha said, her voice brisk. She held out the folder. "But I believe I have found something that might make it better. May I come in? We need to talk about what is really under your field." Hank stared at the old diary and the map. He listened to Martha explain. His tired mind struggled to understand. "Good soil? Under my field?" he asked, his voice rough. "Yes," Martha said, pointing at the map on his table. "Your great-grandfather, Jacob Miller. He planted special grass. The roots went very deep. Then he plowed the whole field under. He put the life back into the earth, deep down. Then he covered it with the bad topsoil to protect it. He was waiting for a big rain. The rain never came. He died. Everyone forgot." Hank looked at the map. He saw the X. He saw the drawing of 3 rocks in a corner. He knew those rocks. They were still there, piled near the far fence. "So the land isn't dead," he said slowly. "It is not dead," Martha stated. "It is waiting, just like he planned." The next morning, Hank was up with the sun. He went straight to the 3 rocks. He stood there, looking at the dry, yellow dirt. He could not imagine anything good underneath it. Billy's truck came flying down the road. He jumped out, his face full of energy. Martha must have called him. "Is it true?" Billy asked, running over. "There's a secret garden under this dust." "We don't know," Hank said. "But the map says here." Billy pulled a red pen from his pocket and started drawing on a notepad. "Okay, so we dig. We need shovels. We need people. I'll make some calls." By mid-morning, a small group stood in Hank's field. Mr. Peterson was there. So were Susan's husband, a few other farmers, and Martha, wearing a wide-brimmed hat. "This is highly unusual," Martha said, but she held a copy of the map. "The historical record is clear. The spot should be here, 5 paces east of the center rock." Hank marked the spot with a stick. He picked up his shovel. He pushed it into the ground. The dry crust was hard. He put his foot on it and pushed again. Dirt flew. Billy started digging beside him. Then Mr. Peterson joined in. Soon there was a hole. It was deep. All the dirt that came out was the same. Dry, yellow, powdery. Hank's arms began to ache. Doubt crept in. What if it was just a story? What if his great-grandfather was wrong? He dug deeper. His shovel hit something hard. A rock. He moved to the side and dug again. His shovel sank in easier this time. He lifted it out. The dirt on the blade was different. He stopped. He dropped to his knees. He brushed the loose dirt away with his hands. The soil underneath was not yellow. It was dark brown, almost black. It was damp. It held together in a clump. Hank held the dirt in his hand. He squeezed it. It was cool. It was soft. It was alive. "Billy," Hank whispered. Billy looked over. His eyes got wide. "Whoa, that's not dust." Everyone stopped digging. They gathered around the hole. Hank broke the clump of dark soil apart. He let it fall through his fingers. It was rich. It was perfect. Martha knelt down. She took a handful. She rubbed it between her fingers. She sniffed it. A small, rare smile touched her lips. "It's true. It's all true. The roots, the plowing. It worked. This is loam. This is the best soil." Hank stood up. He looked at the dark earth in the hole. He looked at the vast yellow field around it. According to the map, this was just the start. The heart of the good soil was big. Most of his field could be like this. He could grow anything. A laugh bubbled up from his chest. It was a strange, rusty sound. He hadn't laughed in so long. Billy whooped. "He did it! Your grandpa did it!" He slapped Hank on the back. Mr. Peterson grinned and nodded. For a few minutes, they all just celebrated. They passed around the good dirt. They talked about what could be planted: corn, wheat, a big garden. Hank felt a warmth spread through him. It wasn't just the sun. It was hope. Real, solid hope. He had come here for a connection to the past. He had found it in a horse, and now he found it in the very land under his feet. The land his family had loved and tried to save. He looked toward the barn where Daisy was. Everything was coming together. The land was alive. Daisy was home. The town was on his side. He smiled a real, full smile. His face felt unused to the shape of it. Martha watched him. She saw the change in his eyes. She saw the way the townspeople looked at him now, not with pity, but with respect. She cleared her throat. "This is a significant historical discovery, Mr. Miller," she said. "But it is also a practical one. You have a future here now, a real one." Hank nodded. He couldn't find the words. For the first time in his adult life, the future did not look empty. It looked green and growing. He had something to fight for. The good dirt was still on his hands the next morning. Hank stood by the hole, looking at the dark soil. He had plans now, real plans. He would order seed. He would talk to Mr. Peterson about what to plant first. He walked back to the barn to see Daisy, a new energy in his step. That's when he saw the two cars. The black car from Wichita was back. Next to it was a Brown County Sheriff's car with a gold star on the door. Mr. Claiborne got out of the black car. A sheriff's deputy, a serious-looking man in a uniform, got out of the other. The cold feeling from before slammed back into Hank's stomach. Mr. Claiborne walked up, carrying his leather folder. The deputy followed a few steps behind. "Mr. Miller," Mr. Claiborne said. His voice had no emotion. "This is Deputy Walker. I have here the judge's final order." He took out a paper. It had an official stamp at the bottom. "The court has ruled in favor of my client, Mr. Vance. You are hereby ordered to surrender the horse known as Daisy's Courage to me immediately. Deputy Walker is here to ensure the order is carried out." Hank stared at the paper. The words blurred. "But the judge said 7 days. It hasn't been 7 days." "The judge issued her ruling early," Mr. Claiborne said. "She reviewed the case last night. The law is clear. The horse must be returned to its legal owner. Today. Now." The deputy stepped forward. He spoke gently but firmly. "Mr. Miller, I'm sorry, but I have to see that this court order is followed. You need to bring the horse out, sir." Hank looked from the deputy's kind, regretful face to Mr. Claiborne's blank one. He had no more money to fight. He had no more time. The town's money was gone. Alan Price had said this could happen. The fight drained out of him. It was the same old feeling, the feeling of losing what he loved. "Okay," Hank whispered. His shoulders slumped. "Okay." He turned and walked into the barn. Daisy was there, chewing on some hay. She looked up and nickered when she saw him. Hank's eyes filled with tears. He took her halter from a hook. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely buckle it. "Come on, girl," he said, his voice thick. He led her out of the barn into the morning light. Mr. Claiborne had already backed his horse trailer up to the gate. He opened the door. Hank stopped. He couldn't make his feet move. He turned to Daisy. He put his arms around her neck and pressed his forehead against her face. He breathed in her smell, hay and horse and warmth. He cried. He didn't try to hide it. "I'm sorry," he sobbed into her mane. "I'm so sorry. I tried." Daisy stood still, patient, as she always was. Deputy Walker looked down at his boots. Mr. Claiborne checked his watch, then looked away toward the horizon. After a long minute, Hank pulled back. He wiped his face on his sleeve. He led Daisy to the trailer. She walked up the ramp without fuss. Hank unbuckled the halter. He kept it in his hands. Mr. Claiborne didn't object. He closed the trailer door and locked it. The sound of the lock clicking into place was the loudest sound Hank had ever heard. "Thank you for complying, Mr. Miller," Mr. Claiborne said. He nodded to the deputy. "We're all set." Mr. Claiborne got into his car. The deputy gave Hank a sympathetic nod. "Take care, Mr. Miller." The two vehicles turned around. The trailer bumped over the ruts in the road. Hank stood in the middle of the driveway, the halter dangling from his hand. He watched the trailer get smaller and smaller until it disappeared over a hill. She was gone. The old house looked broken again. The field with its patch of good dirt looked like a cruel joke. The emptiness was back, bigger and heavier than before. It was the same feeling as when he was 12, standing in the driveway watching a different trailer take Daisy away. The sky to the west, which had been clear all morning, began to darken. Not with clouds from a normal storm. This was a deep greenish-black color. It was moving fast. The wind picked up hot and sudden, whipping dust into Hank's eyes. He didn't go inside. He just stood there, watching the empty road. As the first low rumble of thunder rolled across the land, the sky cracked open. Rain did not fall. It poured. It was a solid wall of water. It hit the dry earth so hard it sounded like tearing cloth. Hank stood on his porch, watching. He was soaked in seconds, but he didn't move. The rain was so heavy he could barely see the barn. It rained for 1 hour, then 2. It was the kind of rain old men talked about but no one living had seen. Slowly, something began to happen on his field. The thin layer of hard, yellow dirt could not absorb the water. The water ran over the top, a rushing sheet. As it ran, it began to peel the dirt away, like pulling back a blanket. Hank stepped off the porch into the mud. He walked toward the field, the water up to his ankles in places. He reached the spot where they had dug the hole yesterday. The hole was gone. In its place was a wide, growing patch of dark, wet, perfect soil, and it was getting bigger. The rain was washing the bad blanket right off the field, just as his great-grandfather had planned. More and more of the rich, black earth appeared. It spread across the field like a stain of hope. His whole farm was waking up. He heard a truck skid to a stop on the road. Billy jumped out, wearing a yellow raincoat. He ran over, his mouth open. "Hank, look at your land. It's beautiful," Billy yelled over the rain. Then his face changed. "But that's not why I'm here. I was listening to the police scanner in the store. There's a flood warning and an accident over on Creek Road by the old bridge." Hank's heart stopped. What kind of accident? A vehicle went off the road into the creek. A trailer, a horse trailer. Hank did not think. He ran. He splashed through the mud toward his old truck. Billy was right behind him. "I'll drive," Billy shouted. "You're shaking." They got in Billy's truck and tore down the road. The rain hammered the roof. The windshield wipers could not move fast enough. As they got closer to the creek, they saw other cars. Mr. Peterson's truck, Susan's car. The whole town was coming. They reached a crowd of people standing on the bank of a swollen, angry creek. The water was brown and fast, filled with branches. The old bridge was still above water, but just barely. And there, in the middle of the creek, was Mr. Claiborne's black car. It was on the bank, empty. Next to it, on its side in the rushing water, was the horse trailer. Mr. Claiborne was standing on the safe bank, soaked and muddy. He was staring at the trailer, his face white with fear. Hank pushed through the crowd. "Is she in there?" he yelled at Mr. Claiborne. The lawyer turned. He saw Hank. He nodded, unable to speak. Deputy Walker was there, talking on his radio. "The water's rising too fast. We have to wait for the rescue team from the county." Hank looked at the trailer. The water was pushing against it. The door was under the water, on the downstream side. He did not wait. He kicked off his boots and started wading into the cold, rushing creek. "Hank, no!" Billy shouted. "Mr. Miller, get back!" Deputy Walker called. Hank didn't listen. The water pushed at his legs. It got deeper fast. It was at his waist, then his chest. The current tried to pull him off his feet. He fought his way to the trailer. He grabbed the side to steady himself. He could hear a sound from inside, a frightened, watery snort, a hoof striking metal. "I'm here, Daisy," he yelled. "I'm here." He took a deep breath and went under the muddy water. He felt for the trailer door latch. His fingers found it. He pulled. It was stuck. He braced his feet against the trailer and pulled with all his strength. The latch gave way. He came up for air, then pulled the door open against the current. Inside, the trailer was dark and half full of water. Daisy was there, on her side, trapped by the walls. Her head was held above the water by a twist of her neck. Her eyes were wide, but she was calm. She saw him. Hank reached in. He put his hands on her halter. "Up, girl. You have to get up. Come on." He pulled gently. Daisy struggled, her legs scrambling against the slippery metal floor. With a great heave, she got her front legs under her. Hank pulled steadily, talking to her the whole time. She staggered forward, out of the trailer door and into the rushing creek. The water hit her, but Hank held tight. He led her, step by careful step, back toward the bank. The townspeople waded in to help. Mr. Peterson grabbed Hank's arm. Susan held out a hand. Together they guided Hank and the stumbling, soaked horse out of the creek and onto solid ground. Daisy stood, dripping and trembling, but safe. Hank put his arms around her wet neck, breathing hard. Everyone was muddy, wet, and tired, but they all started to cheer. It was a quiet cheer at first, then louder. They cheered for Hank, they cheered for Daisy. Mr. Claiborne watched. He watched Hank lean his forehead against the horse, whispering to her. He watched the whole town of Lone Pine, people who had rushed out in a storm to help a man and an animal. He saw the mud on their clothes and the relief on their faces. He looked down at the leather folder in his hand. It was soggy and ruined. Slowly, he opened it. He took out the crisp court order, now wet and limp. He looked at it. Then he looked at Hank and Daisy. He tore the paper in half. Then he tore it again. He let the pieces fall into the mud. He walked over to Hank. His nice suit was ruined. "The horse is home," Mr. Claiborne said, his voice quiet. He did not smile, but his face was different. It was no longer blank. It looked tired and maybe a little ashamed. He turned and walked back to his car, not looking at anyone. No one stopped him. They all just watched Hank and his horse. The rain stopped as suddenly as it had begun. The sun broke through the clouds, warm and bright. It shone on the muddy people, on the rushing creek, and on Hank and his horse. No one spoke for a moment. Then Billy let out a long breath. "Well," he said, "that was something." People began to move. They gathered their things. They patted Hank on the back as they walked to their cars. No big speeches, just quiet smiles and nods. Hank looked at Daisy. She was wet and tired, but she nudged his hand with her nose. "Let's go home," he whispered. He did not have a trailer. He would have to walk her. It was a long walk, but he didn't mind. Billy drove alongside them in his truck, going slow, his hazard lights blinking. As they walked through Lone Pine, people came out of their houses and shops. They stood on porches and sidewalks. They waved, some clapped. Old Mr. Peterson gave a solemn tip of his hat from his truck. Susan whistled and cheered from the diner door. When they reached Hank's farm, the sun was shining on the field. Hank stopped at the gate, his breath catching. The rain had washed almost all of the yellow dirt away. His entire field, from the fence to the house, was now one vast, flat expanse of dark, wet, perfect soil. It glistened in the light. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "Will you look at that?" Billy said, getting out of his truck. He came to stand next to Hank. "Your grandpa's rain finally came." Martha Higgins's small car pulled in behind them. She got out and walked over. She looked at the field, then at Hank and the horse. She nodded, a single firm dip of her head. "The historical record is now complete," she said, "and visibly validated." Hank smiled. It felt easy now. "Thank you, Mrs. Higgins, for everything." Martha's lips twitched, almost a smile. "It was there all along. I just turned the right page." She looked at the house. "You'll need to fix that porch step. It's a hazard." "I will," Hank said. "Good." Martha turned to leave. "I expect you'll be busy, planting and such." She got in her car and drove away. Billy chuckled. "That's Martha speak for, I'm proud of you." He looked at the field, then at his watch. "I gotta get back and open the store. You need anything? Seed, tools, a giant celebration cake?" "Not today, Billy, but thank you for all of it." "Anytime, neighbor," Billy grinned. "Anytime." He got in his truck and left. Hank was alone with his horse and his land. But for the first time, alone did not feel lonely. He led Daisy to the barn. He dried her off with clean towels. He gave her the best hay and fresh water. He brushed her coat until it shone. "You're home for good now," he told her, his hand resting on her neck. "No one will take you away. This is your place, our place." He walked out of the barn and stood looking at his farm. The old house with its peeling paint didn't look broken anymore. It looked like a house waiting for a family. It looked like a home. The field was not empty. It was full of potential, full of future. He would plant corn first, maybe some oats. He had a lot to learn. He heard a truck again. It was Billy returning. He pulled up and rolled down his window. He had 3 young fruit trees in the back of his truck, their roots wrapped in burlap. "Almost forgot," Billy called. "Early housewarming present, apple trees. One for you, one for Daisy, and one for, well, for the future. Hank walked over. He touched the leaves of one of the small trees. I don't know what to say, Billy. Don't say anything, just help me plant them. We gotta put them in good soil, and buddy, you have plenty of that. Together they planted the 3 trees in a row near the porch. The dark earth was soft and welcoming. It held the roots gently. When they were done, the sun was low in the sky, painting everything in gold. Billy left with a wave. Hank sat on his porch step, the step he would fix tomorrow. Daisy grazed on the new grass at the edge of the field. The sky was clear. The air was clean and smelled of wet earth. He was not alone. He had Daisy. He had friends in the town. He had land that was alive. The lost piece of his heart was back, and it was surrounded by new things, growing things. He took a deep breath. He was home.